Hi, everybody. Most of you know that I'm a sports fan. I love sports. I watch a lot of sports. I get into it. It's kind of my hobby, I guess, in a lot of ways, kind of my escape. And so I really get into it and watch a lot of it. Over the years, I've seen some really good games on TV, and I've seen some really big comebacks. You know what I mean? Like a team is way ahead. You're thinking there is no way in the world that this team could come back and win this game. And they do. I remember a game I was listening to in the 90s where the Buffalo Bills were down like 35-3 at the half, and they came back and won. And people were like, "What? How now? How did that even happen in a playoff game?" I remember another playoff game in the NBA when the Pacers were playing the Knicks, and Reggie Miller scored. I think it was 8 points in 9 seconds or something like that. It was ridiculous. In fact, I had turned the game off and I was like, I think I went out in the yard and was mowing the yard or something because I thought this game's over. And they came back and won. I mean, even a couple weeks ago, you had UConn was way down to Duke at half in the NCAA tournament, and they came back and won. And it was like the first time in 135 games that scenario that happened had happened. So just crazy sometimes the comebacks that happen in sports when you think it's over, no way, no way, and yet a team comes back and wins. Well, those stories are cool, but they're not the best comeback story ever. No, not a chance. You see, over the past week, you may have heard a lot about a couple different holidays that followers of Jesus follow, or they really celebrate. One is Good Friday. You may have heard of that. That was last Friday. You also may have heard of Easter. That was last Sunday. And maybe you know what they are about, maybe you don't. Good Friday, let's start with that one. Good Friday is a day that followers of Jesus celebrate Jesus's death, which sounds really weird, right? Like, why would that be good? Why would you celebrate that? You would think that would be the worst thing that could possibly happen. But here's the thing. Jesus, again, as we've talked about, came on a rescue mission. He was all about how can I save my people, save people in general, all over the world from this whole sin brokenness problem that we all have. And the way to do that was to sacrifice his own life. He died a horrific death of crucifixion, which is one of the worst ways that you can die. There's just so much to that that is just plain awful. And he knew that was going to be the case if he sacrificed his life for us and took on all of our sin problem because I mean, he was perfect. He had done everything right. He didn't deserve to die at all, but he took on all of our brokenness on him and sacrificed his life. Why? Because he loved you and he loved me and he loved all of us. That's why. And that's why we call it good because we're like, yeah, that's a good thing that he sacrificed himself. But you think about that day and the story, if you stop on that day, ends with Jesus dead. Now, I don't know about you, but I haven't been to too many funerals where the dead person comes back. When you're dead, you're dead, right? And so Jesus is dead. He's put in a tomb. And they had checked to make sure he was dead. And then they rolled this big stone in front of this tomb because that's how they buried a lot of people back then. And then they put guards in front of him because people were afraid his body would be stolen. And then people would go, oh, he's not here. He's not really dead. But they did everything they could to make sure these people that killed Jesus that, yeah, he's dead, and we know it for sure. He's not coming back from this. That's how Good Friday ends. And that would have been horrible for those following Jesus back then. But that's not the end of the story. And that's what you're going to read now. What? Back from the dead? Are you kidding me? Wow. Jesus was dead. I mean, they checked. They did everything they could to make sure that he stayed that way. And guess what? He's back. Now, I don't know about you, but that is a huge comeback story. I mean, nobody's coming back from death, and yet Jesus did it. He did it. So now he's not only conquered the whole sin and brokenness problem we had, he's conquered the death problem that we have. And because of that, he knows how to get through both those things. He knows how to beat death. He knows how to beat sin, brokenness, the whole thing. He knows how to beat it all. And anybody that follows him, well, he can take you there. He can take you there. Now, here's the thing. I know a lot of people that go, I don't know about that. I mean, nobody comes back from the dead. Like, do I really think that happened? Well, let me give you a few things that kind of show the in real life ways that this was not only possible, but it happened, and that people witnessed it. First of all, after Jesus rose from the dead, there were 500 people. Had to look, make sure I got that number. Yeah, 500 people that witnessed him alive over the next 40 days. Now, there's a lot of things in history that, happened that maybe you had one or two people see and everybody goes, yeah, that obviously happened. That's historical. And this had 500 witnesses that said, oh, I saw Jesus and he was definitely alive. Wasn't a ghost, wasn't our imagination. He was alive. We know it for sure. 500 people saw that over the next 40 days after Jesus's resurrection. Another thing, his disciples completely changed. If you go back to that Good Friday and then the next day, and then even on that Sunday, that third day after Jesus had died, um, the disciples are in hiding. They're afraid. They're afraid that what happened to Jesus is going to happen to them. And so they're in hiding. They don't want anybody to know where they are. They're scared to death. Well, then they see Jesus and everything changes. Everything. They go about going into public places everywhere and saying, "Hey, Jesus is alive, and He's the real deal, and He's everything that we thought He would be, and everything and more," and telling everybody about Him. And people were threatening them. The same people that went after Jesus were going after them now and saying, "You better stop talking about them," and threatening them and all kinds of things, throwing them in jail. And yet they went, "Hey, man, we can't help it. We know that Jesus is alive and this changes everything. And so, you know what? We don't care what you do to us." And in fact, of the 12 guys that followed Jesus, almost all of them died a horrific death because they followed Jesus and because they told people about it. Well, how do you go from being scared to death to like, hey, bring it on? I don't care because Jesus is alive and I'm going to tell you about it. It doesn't matter. How do you go from that to that? Well, Jesus' resurrection. They saw something that blew their mind, and it had to be that resurrection that they talked about. There's another thing that's really interesting in this whole story. If you look at it, there's a cover up. The people that went about killing Jesus tried to cover it all up when they found out that the tomb was now empty. Why would you do that if Jesus is dead and you can just go, well, he's right there. He's dead, obviously. See it? They had to find ways to cover it up, and they went to great lengths to try and cover it up. And, well, didn't work. I mean, it worked for some people. Some people bought the cover up. But, what are you going to do? There's no body. There's nothing there. And now you're going, okay, something happened, something different. Many, many proofs that happen throughout the Bible that you can see. Still, we have to choose whether we believe it or not. Do we believe that? We got proofs. We've got people talking about it, but do we believe that Jesus rose from the dead? Because if we do, it changes everything. Let me tell you something. In my life, I've had to ask that question. Do I believe that Jesus rose from the dead? I hear all the proofs that I just laid out for you, and that helps. But here's the biggest thing that makes me believe that Jesus is alive, that he rose from the dead and he's still alive today. I've never had a dead person change my life. Now, maybe I've had people that have passed on before me that inspired me with something they said or something I read about or whatever. That may be inspirational. But no one changes my life every day like Jesus. And I don't think he would be changing my life if he was dead. And yet I've seen my life change in so many ways. The ways that he has made me better. He's helped me to love more. He's helped me to get over some of the problems that I struggle with. The ways he's shown me how to live that I would never have gotten if Jesus was still in a tomb. A dead person has never changed my life, but a live person has. And I believe that's Jesus. He's changed my life in so many ways. But what do you believe? Do you believe he rose again? If you do, it changes everything. It changes everything. It changes how you look at the whole world. It changes how you look at the rest of your life and a life to come as well. It changes everything. I hope that you do believe, but do ask yourself that question. Do I believe? It is the biggest question you can ask and the biggest question you can answer in your life.